In today's video, I'm going to discuss the difference in starting the downswing with a hip bump or a pressure shift. Make sure you check out this video. Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You join me, Jon Watts, today in our indoor golf studio, and today's video, as I mentioned there in the intro, is all going to be about the start of the downswing, the transition period from the top of the backswing to the start of the downswing. Is it a hip bump? Is it a pressure shift into our lead side? I'm going to be discussing the difference between the two, perhaps the pitfalls to look for. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. The info for me just coming along the bottom of the screen right now. If you hit the little bell icon when you do subscribe, it just notifies you every time a new video goes live. Right now, we're going to jump into this one. So pretty happy with that one. I should have saved that for a bit later on the video. I don't hit them a lot straighter than that. Well, a little draw, but finishing on target there for me. Today's video is going to be focusing on the start of the downswing, that transition movement. And as I said, I'm going to title this video Hip Bump compared to a pressure shift. And you're thinking, well, what's the difference anyway? It is true that at the start of the downswing, there should be some lateral movement towards the target. And I've done videos talking about that. We do want our pelvis to be moving in the direction of the target at the start of the downswing. And it is true that we should be starting ground up. So we really want our lower body going first. So anyone talking about a hip bump or slide laterally that way, absolutely fine. But I just want to talk about the pitfalls to look for and perhaps the different term of shifting our pressure rather than just sliding our hips. And a great way to demonstrate this is just by using an alignment stick. So I'm going to put it through my belt loops, but I'll put my teeth in belt loops. And I'm going to stand this way so I can actually see myself in the mirror as well. And let's say I've got to the top of the backswing here. So in the top of the backswing, my hips have rotated. My trail hip has gone up and a little bit behind me. My lead hip has gone a little bit down, a little bit in front of you. So you can see my hips are turned, but they're turned on a slight tilt. Now, as we start the downswing, we definitely do want a movement of the hips going towards the target, but we want the pressure going down into our left side. And I see a lot of people trying to slide their hips to get their pressure going forwards, but they do it this way. So they slide their hips forwards towards the target, but you can see that my lead hip is very high and it feels like my lead leg is in the way. I often even get the knee passing the outside edge of the foot. Doesn't do my knee, my ankle any good. And we tend to feel in a trap position. Often when people slide their hips this way and their lead hip is very high, they tend to tilt away from the target with their upper body and they catch a lot heavy from there. So we tend to see the lower body sliding forwards, the upper body doing the opposite and actually going away from the target. So we do want some lateral movement, but we want to feel like there is a downward pressure into the left shoe. And what I try and get with this cane here is the sensation that my lead hip is actually staying low as we start the downswing, not moving straight up in the air. So we want to feel like, yes, our pelvis is going towards the target, but my lead hip is staying low and my hips are starting to rotate back to about the target line. So at about halfway down, if we could get my hips back to almost zero, that would be great, because at impact, we want them to be open. And what we're looking for, as I said, is my trail hip has gone up. Now I'm getting that sensation, my lead hip is going down and a little bit forwards, and then into impact, my lead hip is going up and behind me. But I'm discussing here the transition movement. So yes, there is a lateral element to that, but we don't want it where that lead hip stays high. I get the occasional golfer who slides and they slide with everything, but normally players slide with their lower body, tilt back well away from the target with their upper body. And you may get away with that movement a little bit more with a driver because we're hitting up on the ball and we can have our upper body tilted behind it. You'll really struggle with the irons from that position. And even with the driver, we wouldn't want the hips sliding so far laterally that we're getting that knee passing the outside edge of our left or our lead foot, putting too much pressure there and getting us in this stuck, trapped position. So we are looking for a start of the downswing where pressure shift down into that left side, but I'm going to get the feeling of this lead hip staying low. So just doing some exercises with a cane there, using a mirror, could really help you start that downswing correctly. So I'm just going to put that into a golf swing feel. I'm going to get to the top, and I'm going to get the feeling that I'm shifting pressure, but my lead hip is staying low. I also like the sensation as I make that movement, and this could be a focus for you, it depends what you like, that your belt buckle is still facing down. Because if we slide laterally and the left hip goes high, the belt buckle is pointing more out in front of you rather than down towards the ball. So I do like that sensation, the belt buckle is almost pointing down towards the golf ball. And I really feel that pressure into my lead side. Now, the only concern golfers have from here is they think they're going to hit the ground too much. But when we're pushing down into our lead foot here, we will start to push off the floor into impact. And that is a massive power source, because we're not only creating lateral forces, we're creating rotational forces getting open, and we're creating some vertical forces. And this is relevant iron to driver. It doesn't matter. We still want to use those forces to propel the ball, of course, as far as we can. And if we're starting to sink our body better, we're also going to gain that accuracy. We're going to stop flipping the hands at the golf ball. So I've rehearsed that move. I want to get that sensation of the start of the downswing, the pressure being applied to that lead side. My lead hip is still low. It may not be a thought we take to the course, but definitely something we could work on the driving range. Didn't feel quite as solid as the first one, a little bit toey. I wouldn't mind hitting one more. Reasonable distance, and it did catch, I think, the left edge of the green. So not a disaster, but just didn't feel as good as that first one. Go ahead and finish with one more swing. Okay. Down my target line, just a little bit toey, but I shouldn't have said too much, might have gone in. A few feet short. I like that as a drill. I like that sensation. If you're struggling at all with that transition movement, top of the backswing to the start of the downswing, and you're worried about what your lower body should be doing, I definitely put a cane through your belt loops and just rehearse that start of the downswing movement, getting that feeling of pressure being applied towards our lead foot, but my lead hip staying low rather than sliding and going up straight away is a great start of the downswing movement for you. I will put some links in this video that are well worth checking out as well, talking about how to start the downswing. We could be focusing on the lead knee rather than the lead foot. What works for one golfer is going to be slightly different for someone else. It'll have the same fundamentals in there, but maybe the focus point is a little bit different. If you're new to my channel, as I said at the start, and you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Great to hear from you guys as well. If you enjoyed the content or any particular videos you want me to film, put it in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.